How about now? This is the first one, so there's going to be technical difficulties, right? How about now? Tango Charlie, cool name. Music, that's weird. Oh, okay, good. I don't know where the music's coming from. I gotta type case notes. Boring as hell, so I might as well talk to somebody. Sort of. I figure if there's a good need for this, I'll keep them going on a regular basis. So I wouldn't share this one with everybody just yet, since I have no idea what I'm doing. We can't all be Bear, you know? They need to make Risperdal and like those EpiPens, quickly injectable, to calm people down. That's a good idea. We should get on that. We can market it. Angry Viking therapist, Risperdal anti-anger pen. Oh yeah, Bear's the man. Stay tuned on his channel next week because you may see something, a little collaboration going on. Bear's the man. Did you catch his live last night with the Angry American? I think the Risperdal pen's a better idea. I'm sure it's recorded on there. It's pretty good. He got to ask Angry American a bunch of questions. It was neat, in my opinion, to kind of get to see Bear ask somebody else questions. Usually it's us asking him questions. Um, being the subject matter expert. So it was cool to see him be to talk a lot about book writing. Which is the AA specialty. So it was neat. It was neat to see him in a different context. On detail, I don't really miss those days. So I don't have a whole lot of fun things to tell you about. I just figured we'd give this a shot, see how it worked, see if there's any interest. I won't, probably won't save it. It just gives me rambling. It's a better setup though. The flag you usually see behind my videos is back that way. Yeah, behind that bookshelf. So I usually have that chair pulled halfway out in the room, this tripod balanced on it, a light balanced on top of 4 pillows, and then another light on the bookshelf pointing over to the flag. It's if people only knew. Can I say shit show on YouTube? I'm going to. It's a shit show. Council today only, you know, minus the good old no show. I think I saw 8 today, but I tend to stay about 3 weeks behind. I don't know if that's unprofessional or not, but between this and the Angry Viking stuff, The Office, I'll see about 40 a week. But I teach at 2 universities as well as an adjunct professor, and then I'm the clinical director for a national nonprofit that helps injured officers. So I'm always behind, always, always, always. So I figured I'd talk to somebody. 5 of you, specifically. I'm guessing with the council in your name, you in the same area of profession. How does it sound? When you adjust the sound, you guys are the first go. I've got some other options if this one isn't good. Yeah, yeah. Typically 3 weeks behind, which it's sad. The worst part is I don't know if, like I said, with the council name, I don't know if you're doing the same type of thing, but what drives me is the fact that the 3 weeks of notes, if you did the math that, whatever your typical reimbursement is, we'll say between $50 and $100, depending on where you're at, I guess, times 40 people a week times 3 weeks. That's significant, significant cash flow not coming in as it sits on my waiting stand. So yeah, 3 weeks. Yeah, good, Tango Charlie. I think in the future, I probably won't save this one, but I think in the future, I'll try to have maybe some kind of theme, as an overlay. Talk about depression or anxiety or anger or PTSD. PTSD is my specialty, um, so maybe that'll wear a little more, and I'll pick different times and such. So thanks, J Dub. Sounds good. So I'm out of Central Kentucky, right in the middle of Kentucky. I was born and raised in Texas. That's why my accent's not quite correct, but I've been here for a long time. So, Central Kentucky. Cool. Thanks, James. We'll keep we'll keep messing with it. Again, this is just kind of the test to see if it works or not. Downloaded some software and such to make it work. So, and try angles and cameras and lights and all that stuff with all that free time of 3 weeks of notes. So maybe we'll try some kind of I don't know, maybe some kind of overlay with the subject title maybe in the future. So move to the dark side. You're right. Oh my gosh. I'll try to not be hateful. No, I work well with most insurance companies. There are a few that give me a run for my money. I do have a billing company now, so that I work with. So they spend most of the time on the phone. Um, It'd be interesting. To know which parts of the U.S. or who has more trouble with what insurance. I have great luck with a lot of them. I have two that give me a headache. So that is the dark side. You're right. Uh, I won't hate you too much for it. Definitely owe me a bourbon though, because man, let's see here. Good with some info. Good, yeah, yeah. I think like putting something on the screen related to a topic, maybe get some things going. So yeah, you're the test subject. Sorry. North Georgia mountains, man. I got a buddy that I don't know. Is is Athens? Would that be in the mountains? That's North Georgia, I know. Ooh, that's a lot of places to get your butt kicked. You're right. I worked 2 years during the residency. Shortly after graduate school, at an agency. We did in-home and in-school therapy, and just wasn't for me. It was time to come to the private practice world, hang my own shingle, and now I get to. Cool thing is about that, you get to pick your patients more or less. So, oh, Bill, thanks, buddy. This is the test run. I'm gonna give some of these lives a chance, but we're talking about maybe putting some overlay of words, something to get a conversation started. But I gotta type notes. I might as well talk to somebody. Bill's the man. Bill's near me here in Kentucky. You are the guinea pig. I'm sorry. So, oh, Athens a little more south. Yeah, I should know my geography a little better about that. But again, I grew up in Texas, so this part of the world is still. Oh, I've seen Gainesville. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Jado, it's actually my specialty. So, PTSD, anger, high risk careers. I tracked a lot of public safety, military, both just kind of my type A personality, I guess, but then my own experience in 18 years of law enforcement. So, thank you, Bill. I was thinking the other day, man, we have another PCIS coming up here in a couple weeks. So, well, not right now because of COVID, but I live, I live vicariously through your live music streams. So, yeah. So, and PTSD, and then EMDR. If you've heard of that treatment modality, is my specialty. So I'm certified in it, currently a consultant in training. So kind of moving up the ladder on not only using EMDR, but doing some research with it, but teaching others now, which is my a big passion of mine, which started this. So I've got another good video I want to make, but I haven't been able to put it together yet. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna anger the counseling community with this one, so that's okay. Yeah, thank you, Bill. Been there, done that. That's my specialty, man. Oh, here's where you do it. There we go. Moody is a heck of a part of mental health, and you think about it, when we're dealing with that limbic system you've heard called the fight or flight part of the brain. You're doing that limbic system, and the brain thinks it's always in kind of that emergency state. And then we're not talking about those of us that like to sit with our back to the wall or not be in crowds. That's just part of it. But you know, the inability to not be extremely irritable. Health issues too. Anytime you're in pain or struggling with that kind of stuff, gosh, that's who wouldn't be moody about that. Many in the field do need a kick in the pants. You are correct. I could probably spend a video on that one. Yeah, so this is a first experiment shutdown. So it's using the iPhone, but it's running through. Let's see, what's the name of this software? Camo Studio to get the picture, and then Ecamm is how it's streaming to YouTube. So they were, cost a little bit, but Seems to be worth it. I'm impressed with this Ecamm. It lays everything out on the screen. You know, most people I see try to do lives. They're watching the comments scroll through their phone or their computer as fast as they can and can't keep up. This is all laid it out on my laptop here, kind of nice. So I'm impressed so far. So, but it's just my iPhone. I was telling a story to somebody today about digital cameras. I'd broken a digital camera when I worked for the state. I had to pay for it, and this was back in like, I don't know, 07-ish, where smartphones weren't really where they are, certainly not the camera, so we all had digital cameras, and I broke one, and it was expensive. I'm gonna hope the thumbs up was for the video and not the fact I had to pay for that camera. So works pretty good. I haven't tried ManyCam. Up to 15. That's star status now. Those of you just joining, we're just trying this. I gotta type a bunch of terrible notes, therapy notes that I'm behind on. So figured I'd talk to you guys. Give me a reason to be distracted. I'm sure media, that's, you know, physical pain enough is enough to put you in kind of that irritable mood. You know, you think of, I was trying to describe everything with like tooth pain. You know, if I have tooth pain, nothing's good. You know, everything's irritable. It's or hangry. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't compare being hungry to physical pain, but I don't know if, so I always tell people this is me when I'm happy, and this is me when I'm hungry. Doesn't really translate very well, but you're right, counsel. You get in the field because of somebody else or yourself. One of my favorite sayings, Henry Nguyen, is the best healer is a wounded healer. You know, you know, as a therapy patient or you know, some kind of services you're looking for, you know when you walk in if that other person has been there. You just know. I mean, there's no way to express that. You can read my bio all day and not understand the things that I went through to get me into that chair. You know, this is second career for me, but yeah, for some of us it's a little bit both. You're right. You just know. You just know when somebody else has been there. Tips to decompress or de-stress from intense situations. So here's kind of my first thought. At first, you got to understand where they come from, right? The stress from those situations come from our body doing what it's supposed to do. That limbic system reaction we were talking about a few minutes ago, and the limbic system's reaction, you know, in a true emergency, is to do things like speed up our heart to get more blood, breathe faster, get more oxygen. It'll shut off our digestive system because, as it turns out, not so handy to have to use the bathroom in the middle of a fight. Gets adrenaline dump, so we're stronger. Hear stories all the time of people lifting cars off of people, you know, with crazy strength in an emergency. It'll heat up our body so our tendons and ligaments won't tear. And those of us that might be going from a seated position like a cruiser or from jumping out of a, you know, up armored vehicle going right to a fight, you don't want to tear those. So the body takes care of that, or tries to anyway, and then gives us tunnel vision. All right, hones in our senses. So the first thing to know is where it came from, right? And knowing that it's a limbic system reaction, it's the smoke alarm of the body going off. If we can reverse those things, that physical reversal is the quickest way to calm down, right? So I don't generally teach things like taking deep breaths. I'm not going to knock those grounding things, but you know, I don't think it has to be done in a systematic manner. If you can get your heart to slow down, your breathing to slow down, your body to cool off, your stomach to start again, give it some food, come down from that adrenaline. As far as the senses parts goes, that's where kind of your grounding comes in, right? So you know, start finding things around you that you recognize. If you think it's starting to get on top of you, here's my lamp, here's my drink, here's my remote, here's the camera, a couple of things you can touch, a couple of things you can smell. I believe that in that type of critical incident, if we're not talking about flashbacks or nightmares or things coming back, in that true critical incident that we're coming out of, we got to get the body to shut down. We got to get the body to slow down first, and I think that that's going to be the behavioral change that you get for the body and to get that cognition slowed down. So if I'm coming out of that, I've got to get slowed down. I've been in that, and I think that's going to help. The other part of that, of course, is how do I get the speed mentality, the ranging mentality out of my head. And the hard answer to that is you've got to make sure you're thinking rationally and not emotionally, right? If we're thinking emotionally about what just happened and we're stuck in that emotional mode, so many of us, that have jumped out of a cruiser or come down off an up armored vehicle, or of course it's emotional, especially if it's been a critical incident. But if I stay in that emotional state, I'm not coming down from that. So I'm going to have to decide to think rationally. And rationally doesn't mean you're going to excuse people from doing things wrong. Rationally means that I've got to think of this in an evidence kind of way. A lot of us that were in public safety, evidence is king, and if we're not thinking of things in an evidentiary kind of way, then we're just reacting out of emotion. So kind of a long answer to the question that doesn't necessarily solve everything, but we got to get that body slowed down, and we got to get those emotion or thoughts slowed down. So let me get caught up here, man. They're starting to come in. This is cool. Those are coming in. You're the guinea pigs. This is the test run. Earl's daughter. Oh, from Bear Independent. I recognize the name. Oh gosh, gave birth to 6 kids. So I joke all the time. My wife hates this joke. I spent 18 years in government, had to shave every day, so now I've got this beard and a mustache I refuse to shave and go back to those days again. But I drink a lot of either carbonated or drinks out of a can, and I'll catch my mustache once in a while on the tab and pull it out. And I always joke. My wife hates it, but I always tell her that the only way a woman can understand how painful that is when they gave birth. Don't throw anything at me. Gosh, 6 kids. The logistics alone scare me a little bit. I've got a couple. You're right, Deborah, and it's so weird. Doctors say to stop the pain, try to de-stress. I'm stressed out because I'm hurting, right? So yeah, I mean, and there's some sympathetic and parasympathetic changes that come along with pain too. Yeah, of course, we're in some kind of distress when we're in pain. I mean, that's what the body and the brain was designed for. If you were burning your hand on hot coals and your brain didn't tell you it was bad, so of course it's going to be stress. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, and there's some science to what they're saying, of course, de-stress and get rid of some of the pain, but how are you going to de-stress completely when you're in pain? Oh yeah, Bill. Yeah, that's something that I hear about a lot, especially this time of year. In fact, many of us in the psychotherapy world kind of consider winter our busy season. I think it's for a couple reasons. One, there can be some seasonal affective stuff going on. Two, a lot of people are getting back to routine of school. Not this year, of course. It's kind of weird. But three, I think that holidays and when we start to have to deal with that family we haven't seen in a year and everybody starts getting liquored up a little bit, I think that's another reason people are stressed over the holidays. But thoughts between the relationship between the two, I could absolutely see them being connected. Of course, it's a little bit different symptoms. So PTSD, of course, being the critical event, reminders of the event, avoidance of the reminders, the change in cognition, usually for the negative, and how it affects our lives. I mean, how could that not be tied to some kind of seasonal problem? My first thought would be is the season, whether it be dark earlier, whether it be winter time, what does a season have to do with some of our critical events? Maybe the crazy thing about that limbic system, that amygdala just constantly files things away, and looking for trouble, right? Trying to keep us out of trouble, and I believe that limbic system has a timer on it too. We don't have to sit around and think of an event. Well, today, perfect example, 9/11, right? I've seen 9/11 a couple of times on different things on my computer when talking to people. But I think those of us that experience 9/11 in one form or another, whether that being there visually or living through it or the things that came afterwards, I think there's a clock in that limbic system. It knows when things went bad. Maybe 9/11 isn't the example for everybody, but let's say that a critical event happened the week before Thanksgiving years ago. That limbic system's got that amygdala in there, and it remembers. It remembers time. So I don't know if there would be a clinical connection. I would say those would be independent, although could be together. But I'd be interested in timeliness of stuff too. So, it's just for 20 years, I don't, I always tell people I'm not a medical doctor. I'm the other kind of doctor, but man, I wouldn't even know how to deal with that. Tango Charlie. Yeah, I showed my arm tattoo a minute ago. One of me when I'm happy and one of me when I'm hangry. So I feel you. My wife often says it if I'm irritable. Did you eat something today? Mm. Good luck with the tooth pain. Jeez, man, I can't. I'm a pretty tough dude. I'm the angry Viking therapist after all, but I'm scared of the dentist. I'll be the first to admit. As a martial arts guy myself, that would frustrate me not being able to. The Bearded Brigade. So I don't know if I know some people in here are followers of Bear Independent, which is who actually Bear's a great guy. Bear Independent's the channel name, also on Patreon. I highly recommend you follow him, especially if you're interested in anything survival. I've learned a lot from him, but he knows this. He's the one that finally pushed me to do the YouTube stuff. I'd waffled for a little while, and he's the one that told me to hit the record button and get started, and the people will show up. Yeah, Zebra. See, I truly believe that there's, I don't want to speak as a neuroscientist, like I know everything about the brain, but the limbic system is my specialty. I'm a trauma specialist, so I truly believe that there's a clock in that limbic system too. There you go, Bill. I'm telling you, man, there's a clock in there. Uh, I have to be very careful sometimes that trauma is my specialty, so I want to relate everything to trauma, and I can make an argument for most things. I think that relate in some way to trauma, whether it be that big T trauma, that the 9/11s, the car wrecks, the trauma everybody thinks about, but little T trauma, the adverse life events that happen, the divorces, the parents leaving, the bad relationships, the job changes. Those are trauma too. So they're not. It's not little t because they're not important. It's little t because it's a very chronic instead of acute way. But yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that there's a clock in there. Man, that messed up a lot of people. Shut down. That's you know, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm the other kind, but uh, I don't know. Surgery sound necessary to me, so I'm confused as to why they shut them down. I'm not a healthcare specialist. I'm not going to claim to know anything about COVID or other than what we're told or what I've read. More what I've read than what we're told, right? Since your name is shut down the media, but um, I would think surgeries are necessary. I don't know. Maybe there's so much of a risk when you're compromised like that. So Shalom Tavar, I know where that comes from. Yeah, Deborah, I get that question a lot. So she asked me about thoughts on non-combat PTSD. One of the things I have to remember in my office, because I do work a lot of public safety and military, and so I will get people that come in and say, like, listen, I'm not a combat vet. I didn't go through war. I didn't go through responding to a wreck. And so, I feel silly coming in and discussing that I might have PTSD or even that I'm having reactions from stuff. Here's the thing about trauma, though, is trauma is not always related to an incident like that. Trauma, in my opinion, is something that the brain is not supposed to deal with. And some people, unfortunate they have to see it, but some people see it one time in their life, and some people deal with it every day because of their family, because of how they were brought up, because of where they live, or because of their career. But here's the thing about that non-combat PTSD kind of moniker is trauma's trauma. If you think of it in the terms of what trauma does to us, which is not only change the size of the limbic system, which is really weird to see on a brain scan, but absolutely changes the strength of that limbic system. Starts to take over. We took a bunch of 18-year-olds, they just joined the military, and we scanned their brain. They went to combat, came back, we scanned their brain again, and you've seen the brain scans where different colors light up. That tells me, a lot about what's working, what's not. No matter how many questions we asked them or what the question was, all the decisions were being made in that limbic system. So, it's limbic system. It's the fight or flight that's stuck on. It's like jamming a square peg in a round hole. You can't get that stuff put away sometimes without treatment. So combat, non-combat, car wreck, medical issue, trauma's trauma. Whether it fits the first line of PTSD about life-threatening injuries or not, or being witness thereto of, or hearing them, or still trauma. No matter what we call it, still trauma. I've got a great dentist story shut down. I'll have to tell one day. It ended with the poor dentist scared of me. Good. I'm glad you got some help, Tavar. That's yeah, y'all's a powerful dude. It does take some time. I don't know that I subscribe to time heals all wounds, but it does some. I'd rather get some EMDR therapy and be done with it if it were me. Bearded to be great. I'll have to look that up. I'll tell you something funny there. When it comes down to hashtags and stuff, I've got no less than 3 or 4 calls this week about a gentleman who is. I found out. I think he's actually from Houston, but he was in Louisville, which is the state I'm in. Just a few hours away, about an hour away, and he was doing like a protest. Gathering people for a protest. He calls himself the Angry Viking. So since I'm in Kentucky as the Angry Viking therapist, I got tons of calls from news media asking if it was me. I actually watched one of his live broadcasts last night, and I can see the resemblance. Well, that's a tough story, shut down. But think of it this way: instead of worrying about the diagnostic criteria, things like PTSD, here's where that stuff comes from. Here's where the problem comes from. We know that today's dysfunctional emotions, right? So anger, trauma, anxiety, depression, guilt, they come from previous life events, and that can be age 0 to yesterday. It doesn't have to be childhood. Previous life events that left us feeling helpless or hopeless or not good enough. And today, those beliefs are re-triggered by something, right? So, if in our life we feel helpless, hopeless, not good enough, we used to spend a lot of time kind of chasing those triggers down, right? Like, oh, well, this is where it comes from, and gosh, if you just stay away from walls or dad or car, and then you'll be okay. The problem is we don't always know where those triggers come from, and instead of trying to chase down the triggers all the time, certain colors or smells or locations, certainly we want to get some relief from those, but chase down the helpless, hopeless, not good enough. You find those emotions, and you'll find where the trauma is, and that's where the healing begins. Emotional abuse absolutely can be related to trauma. Suggestions on maintaining the mental health of kids during the current events. Man, these are great questions. I'm going to have to do this more often, I guess. You've sold me. Okay, so the biggest thing that I've noticed, and I'm not a kid specialist, but the biggest thing I've noticed is the fact that all the kids are stuck together, right? When they're used to being able to get out and do things, get away from each other. I got 2 little girls, and gosh, man, they love each other. They're great. But, from March on, they've been stuck together 24/7. Now they're doing school at the same table. So, I think, I hate to use the word normalcy because what the heck does normal mean? But but maintaining some kind of normalcy and being and at least them trying to get out. Because you got to think about it. Uh, they don't conceptualize things the way we do, right? They don't have prefrontal cortex that's fully formed yet. They don't think rationally about things. They're emotion. They're little emotional bugs, right? And um, they can't. It doesn't matter how many times I tell my daughter that this is temporary and that this stinks, but that we'll be fine. She still misses her friends. I can't change that for her. I can't change the emotional part of that. She just wants to go hug her friends and play with her friends. So I think that understanding that they're not going to rationalize this, that they're not going to be able to just understand that this is a temporary thing, or that this is frustrating, the different mandates and the different things that we're having to go through. Um, I don't think explaining it, trying to rationalize it, I think that's good for them, but I don't necessarily think it's the trick. I think providing some kind of normalcy, I've been trying to take each daughter to do something separately once in a while, and just them getting to be away from each other a little bit. I'm sure has been nice. They love each other to death, but I've definitely seen the stress increase from them. So, oh, the Chris Benoit story. You know that I've know who that is because I said it right. Um, Honestly, I just watched a documentary on it not too long ago. I don't know a whole lot about it. One of the things that would interest me about it, and I don't want to misspeak, but one of the things that always interests me about um, that profession is that the head injury part. I'm not a neuroscientist or a neurosurgeon. I don't, necessarily have the tools to read or manipulate the brain, but uh, I've learned a lot about TBIs over the last years of working with trauma and stress and combat veterans and just people that have TBIs from different things. And I'm really interested to know how that affected his brain. Some people talk about plaque that can build up after a TBI. Some can talk about, what was their testosterone usage that caused some of that to increase, or was that the only thing keeping him healthy at the time? You know, I, I don't. I mean, I know it had a tragic ending, of course, and you never want to see that. But I don't know that I could speak completely intelligently on it. I'd like to learn more about it. I wish we could do more about understanding brain injury, because I'm telling you, I see brain injury as a major impact of emotion in my office. Oh, I bet, Deborah. Gosh, heart's a scary thing. You only get one of them, you know. Yeah, time does not heal all wounds. I completely agree. I think it can muffle wounds. It can maybe get away from the triggers. I'm not a believer that time heals all wounds. Deborah says, does DBT skills help with PTSD? So I would say yes. It would not be my go-to, mainly because, and I'm not a DBT certified therapist, so take this as a general training about it. I've used skills from it. DBT was originally designed for borderline personality disorder. Now, I would first argue that you will see a lot of co-occurring symptoms, or that's the wrong terminology, because not together, but you would see a lot of symptoms that are the same in both PTSD and borderline personality disorder. Especially in the world of kind of the overreaction stuff. So DBT is, and again, this is my small knowledge of it, is based on learning skills, right? Learning skills to kind of deal with borderline personality disorder, learning skills that may take some of the symptoms away or mitigate some of that stuff. While PTSD may have some healing from learning skills, right? Maybe learning to deal with anger a little better, or learning to communicate with people, or the one I'd be the most interested in is kind of tracking anger outbursts, or tracking frustrating times when you're up or down, or hypervigilant, or just vigilant. That would be interesting to kind of use DBT's charts and stuff for. I don't know. It would be my primary modality. I'm certified in EMDR, movement desensitization reprocessing. Gosh, the healing I've seen from that on this couch is unbelievable, unbelievable. I made the mistake, like a lot of people, of looking it up on YouTube when I first heard of it, and just saw some person waving their hand in front of the face of somebody else who was sad, and I don't. That's not necessarily a great impression of EMDR. They weren't doing anything wrong in that video, but that doesn't really capture what EMDR does. You know, it helps you process the stuck memories and get you back to functioning away from that helpless and hopeless and not good enough feeling. So I wouldn't say that DBT skills would not be helpful. It probably would not be my go-to necessarily. So, yep, more Bear Nation checking in. Man, you guys flooded Angry American last night with Bear. That was really cool to watch. I know that Bear, as a friend of mine, really appreciated everybody showing up. So, oh, after his live, that's cool. This is not the angry Viking you're looking for. That's great. I did, pretty much. I was like, I think that dude lives in Houston. He just happens to be in Louisville. And yeah, the number of questions and calls I got was calls and emails I got was kind of interesting. Luckily, mine's trademarked, so not too worried. Homeschool. Mm. Well, shutdown, that comes a lot for, I don't know how far back I am, but talking about, talking about the um, being hard on yourself. That is a very quick way to not feel good enough. But I'm also a very firm believer that a lot of that comes from previous life events. 5 boys, 2 girls, all still. Oh man, that makes my complaint about 2 girls seem kind of weak, doesn't it? Uh, could be a big source of your stress. I'm gonna say yes. I got 2 girls. It's nothing but estrogen and emotions at my house. At least you have a little backup. Good call, son of God. Life can collapse at any moment. You have to be somewhat ready. I'm a prepper minded kind of guy, so that settles with me. That's a pretty neat idea. I have to think about that. Shut down your idea of the call in thing, especially with this new platform that I've got. Instead of just trying to use my phone to read comments as fast as possible. Oh, good call, counsel. Good call. Keep kids on routine as much as possible. Limit their amount of access to mainstream media. Could go on for hours. Good call. Has Kentucky gone back to normal pretty much, except for schools? Zebra, I wouldn't say normal. We do still have a mask mandate in public. I don't know that there's heavy enforcement. Things I've heard for some other states that there's really heavy enforcement. I think we probably have it pretty lax here. Schools, it's very county based. The city that I work in has not gone back to school in person. They're doing virtual only. The county that I live in is doing either or. So you can pick. I would say, I don't know the stats, but I would say that a majority of the schools that I see in this area have not gone back. So, you still have the masks and stuff at public places. One of the most interesting changes I saw is I've got a place near my office that my staff and I go to a lot for our impromptu staff meetings, and it's a buffet, and it's you clearly can't go up to the buffet and use the same spoon as everybody else, so you hand the worker your plate, and they walk over and you point you point down at what you want, and they scoop it out onto your plate. It's kind of a weird feeling. I feel like I'm like I don't know, I'm in a cafeteria behind the glass, just pointing at food. Yep, there you go, son of God. Logical thinking. Rational thinking is a big part of therapy. Oh, good call, Tavar. I hope I'm not saying your name wrong, but recreation is a world of good. Yeah. One kid at a time. Well, we've definitely tried to do that at my house. I like that. Check around for homeschool groups that might be able to build rapport. We're very lucky. We have some very close friends that live nearby with kids of the same age, so that's definitely helped. We still try to get out on the weekends and have some kind of normalcy. 12 concussions, dude. Could the TBI happen? Again, not really being neurologically related in my field, except for how it all works. I I don't know about combinations of concussions to TBI, um, or if a TBI is a one-time event. So I don't know that I can answer that intelligently, but even the concussions alone can cause problems, right? Even the concussions alone, how much memory loss have you had? How much balance loss have you had? How many? Think about this too with the physical injury that causes. Is your body going into fight or flight mode because of that? I'm sure it is, right? Initially, how much does it cause a problem now? That would be where my interest would be is whether it's a concussion or TBI or whatever they label it, what kind of fight or flight responses is it causing? That'd be more interesting to me. I will shut down. I have to look into it. Yeah, he was a good wrestler, man. He always I don't know a whole lot about wrestling, but I do remember him always kind of having a smile on his face. You could tell he's one of the guys that really liked it. Yeah, borderline. That's a whole different world, isn't it? There's people that specialize in borderline personality disorder alone. Yeah, I feel your pain, Char. Yeah, Deborah, I like therapy dogs. I've definitely seen some help with it. I work with a group called the Wounded Blue. I'm their clinical director, and one of the directors is over the canine part, and so it's this specific program is for law enforcement officers, but they help provide emotional support animals to officers that meet the criteria and are struggling. So I've watched it. I know there's a lot of good research on it, but I've watched it personally with two friends do them a lot of good. These officers were significantly hurt in the line of duty, and deal with a lot of physical and emotional stuff from that. And I've personally got to watch them grow. Um, Good question too, Jade. I mean, that's right. You ask them any questions you want. I mean, this is certain suddenly proving in God 49 minutes. What do you guys listen to me for so long for? Ramble on. Uh, it's just proven to that some people want it. So I guess I'll keep doing them. So thoughts on microdosing mushrooms. So here's another area that I don't know a lot of research about. Uh, and mainly it's because I'm not a medical doctor. My PhD is in counseling. So um, I, I don't want to speak about uh, medications, FDA approved or otherwise, without too much backup. I've got a buddy who's a psychiatrist I'd like to bring on here one time to talk about this stuff. I can speak intelligently about things like SSRIs and SNRIs and what I see them do to the brain, what I see them do in my office with my clients. But um, I've heard a lot of good things about microdosing mushrooms. I've heard a lot of good things about MDMA. I've heard a lot of great things about ketamine. They're definitely not my areas of specialty. Uh, I'm a lifetime learner. I'm constantly trying to learn more, especially when it comes to the things that are in my wheelhouse like that. Um, I just talked to a gentleman the other day that they're open a ketamine clinic locally, and I've seen a lot of that used to kind of as a reset. Some new things are coming out. Ketamine treatment for PTSD, the basal ganglion block that some VA is doing. I've got a buddy that had the basal ganglion block, and he said it was before the needle even came out of his neck, he felt better. It doesn't necessarily fix the trauma part, but it can fix a lot of the hypervigilance and stuff. So I'd be interested. If you hear more about the mushrooms, let me know. Getting to live out being a ninja, that's awesome. It's weird because I feel like every time I go to a building, especially like a bank, and I'm putting my mask on just outside the bank, I feel like I'm in some bad action movie. You know, because every time they go rob a bank or something, they're putting they pull up and then they put their mask on. That's what I feel like. See you shut down. Hopefully, get to say bye before you headed out. And over. Man, it is a lot of actual concussions, isn't it, Lynn? Jeez. Oh, zebra. Yeah, if you're still on. Yeah, borderline. Gosh, it's a personality disorder, so uh, I certainly have clients with it. In my opinion, as a trauma specialist, I think it absolutely can come from trauma. Um, it's a tough one. The way I describe borderline personality disorder, and this probably isn't clinical, so if you're a therapist out there, forgive me, but every relationship is like your high school sweetheart relationship. Every relationship is everything, and not just intimate or personal. The relationship with your therapist, the relationship with your kids, the relationship with your loved ones, the relationship with the mailman. Everything is uh, everything is over the top importance when it comes to that personality disorder. I don't know if that sounds like what you dealt with, but when I deal with it, that's kind of how I explain it to people. Is that those of us that had that high school, that first high school love or whatever, and it was everything, and we're gonna be with them forever. That's what every relationship is like in borderline, and not just intimate relationships, but everything. Don't we all, Garen? Don't we all? Thanks, Deborah. I'll do more of them then. It was just kind of a wild. I had a few minutes where I was supposed to be typing notes, which clearly I've not managed to do. That's okay. I'd rather talk to you all, but words are hard. Yes, sometimes. I know where that's from. Good, Gorilla. Awesome. There's such a, oh man, and I'll be the first to admit, I spent 18 years in law enforcement or 15 years in law enforcement, 18 years of public safety. I was a dispatcher and fireman before that, um, but there's uh, such a horrible connotation when it comes to therapy, and I know that some therapists have caused that, but there's such a negative view when it comes to it, seeking out therapy, and one of the greatest honors I get is that people come in here, refer other officers or refer other firemen. Uh, I could spend I could spend zero on marketing and have that happen, and I'd be perfectly fine. I could spend 10,000 on marketing and not get the kind of return like referrals through public safety get, just because there's something about somebody like you, another type A personality, going, "Oh yeah, me too. I go to therapy. Go check this out." Or, "Hey, I know you're not doing well. Things are changing. It's rough at home. Uh, let me give you somebody to go see that I think understands." So, good. Good for you. Oh yeah, yeah. I can't prescribe MDMA. I don't know. I guess somebody could, but yeah, don't use the street one. It's got meth and baby powder and all sorts of junk in it. Yeah, John, shoot that on over. I'll gladly check for that. Shoot as a private message, or my email's pretty prevalent too, just Dr. Trevor at theangryvikingtherapist.com. So if I can't help, we'll find you somebody that can. There's a few of us out there, that have that experience. You bet, Deb. You're right. Somebody asked me earlier today if I'd seen an increase in number of clients since I serve a lot of public safety since all this started. I don't know that I've seen an increase in individual numbers. I've definitely seen a change in the conversations in my office, though. A lot of this has brought a lot of For some, trauma's up, of course. Having to deal with the vilification of law enforcement right now, but also causing a lot of concern about whether they're where they should be. It's a lot. I've always said it's a lot easier to keep a lid on that stuff when you have a mission, and when the mission is taken away, it's really hard to keep a lid on some of that hard stuff. And I think that officers feeling like they have to lay back right now is one of the reasons that lid's coming off of some people's buckets. So there's a lot of people too wondering if they are wasting their career. They're at they're at the 10-year mark. They got 10 or 15 years or more until retirement. Should they still be in it or not? So yeah, it's definitely changing some of the conversations. I will tell you. I always stay busy, so I don't know that I personally have seen an increase in number, but yeah, we called it zebra. I mean, a lot of it comes from trauma. It does make it difficult to trust any relationships for sure. So Mad Max Bob Barker, what a name! It's awesome. So dealing with the debilitating anxiety caused by speech impediment. Okay, so there's a couple of things that come to mind first. Um, it is one, look at where anxiety comes from, right? Anxiety is nervous turned all the way up. So there's a rational way to go about that, and whether or not, like, where does the anxiety itself come from? Is it coming from feeling like this can't be happening? Is it coming from giving yourself a label, not good enough, or embarrassed, or is it coming from overgeneralization? Right? Is it coming from assuming that everybody has a certain thought about that? Or is it coming from what I call I can't stand it itis, right? That I can't handle this, which when we say it, we know isn't necessarily true, but it feels that way. Here's the trauma side of it, though. That's the rational thinking side of it. Here's the trauma side of it, though, and you'll hear these words from me a few times, from videos or if we keep doing these lives. The anxiety, or what we call today's dysfunctional emotions, come from earlier life events, age 0 to yesterday, that left us feeling helpless, hopeless, or not good enough. Well, I don't know your story, and I would never pretend to understand what somebody's thinking about something debilitating. But how easy is it to feel helpless, hopeless, not good enough when you feel like you can't even get your speech right, or that it's affecting your a bug flew my where you don't feel like you can function normally, right? So my as a trauma guy who's probably a little biased that about trauma, my first thought is where's the helpless, hopeless, not good enough coming from? Because I'll tell you, if we get rid of that, through the things that we do in EMDR therapy, if we get rid of that, then a speech impediment's a speech impediment, right? Or a speech problem is a speech problem. It doesn't mean helpless, hopeless, not good enough. So there's a thinking way, that cognitive or rational motive behavior therapy way, and there's the EMDR way. Both I think are effective. I'm an EMDR certified guy myself, so I'm probably a little biased, but I'm also well trained in REBT. So both of those kind of come into play. So I know that doesn't solve the problem, and I know that's not what somebody's necessarily looking for on here, but my interest would be why the anxiety, and why can't we get rid of that? And then it just be nervous. So, which by no means is to say like, oh man, just go be nervous instead of anxious, you'll be fine. It's way harder than that, of course. But thanks, Mike Brown. That's I don't know where I came up with that, but that's just what it feels like. Thanks, Dub. Hopefully you're still here. Got to say bye. I don't know how far behind I am. I have. Oh, I've heard that name, Dr. Rahman, but I don't know that I know a whole lot about it. I'm always interested in learning more about injury. Um, I'm a lifetime learner, so I love to continue to improve my skills. In fact, I've recently taken on a role of something called a counselor in training with EMDR, and that's going to allow me to do a lot of consulting, or consultant in training, not counselor in training, consultant in training with EMDR. It shows a level of proficiency that I've gained over the years in order to keep doing that, but it also allows me to teach and consult about EMDR. So I'm a lifetime learner, so I'll definitely look into that one. Always good stuff. I need to take the boring paperwork off. I haven't done anything yet. Char, if you're still here, this is why. This is why I always find stuff to do instead of paperwork. An hour? What do you people listen to me ramble for? I'm humbled. Humbled. I'll stick around a few more minutes, and if it kind of starts to die down, then I guess I'll do paperwork. Feel free to distract me. If I know people were to coach, I'd have like done nice things like make the couch look nicer, and I didn't know so many people were coming over. Ooh, good question. Grill, I get this one a lot. So, not turning off at night is anxiety, waking up is depression. General rule of thumb. So, again, we kind of go back to just what I was talking about a minute ago with the speech impediment part is why the anxiety? You know, not to downplay anybody's concerns, but everybody has some things that they're thinking about the future. Can I handle this? Will this go badly? How is this going to go tomorrow? What am I going to do with this? Right. So some feel more intense than others. So we're not going to downplay anybody's thoughts or symptoms, but go back to the anxiety, right? So the anxiety, which is keeping us awake at night, you know, keeping us awake at night is that continued feeling that we keep going back to of what's made us feel hopeless or helpless or not good enough, right? So, you look at thoughts that keep a lot of people awake at night. Is it causing hopelessness? Is it causing helplessness? Is it causing not good enough? Where's that from? Because what's happening is these things are coming up, say at night or whenever you're trying to go to bed, and we could spend lots of time talking about circadian rhythms and the necessity of sleep and making sure you're getting into third rhythm of sleep. But just kind of in general, as the anxiety part of it is, where does that helpless, hopeless, not good enough come from? That's what we need to go back to. And we're not talking in a psychoanalytic kind of way where we have to go back to age 5 and prove to yourself that you're a good person and that you can handle things. But traumas get stuck, right? Trauma is like trying to jam a square peg into a round hole. And keep in mind, trauma can be the big T traumas like everybody thinks about, abuse, 9/11, car crashes, or it can be adverse life events, parents' divorce, your divorce, loss of a job, loss of career, loss of income, the things that happen in life. And not only my procrastination, Char, but my distraction, because I read that while I was talking. But that, why anxiety? Nervous I can handle, right? Nervous doesn't feel good, but nervous I can handle. So what's causing my anxiety? What's going on that's re-triggering that helpless, hopeless, not good enough? Because if I'm not feeling helpless or hopeless or not good enough that I can't handle it, I'll go to sleep and deal with it tomorrow, right? What's causing that to pop up? Whether it's previous life events, which we would argue it commonly is, whether we know the event or we just know the time period or the adverse life thing that went on. But what's making me feel like I can't handle this? Because there's your helpless and hopeless and not good enough and can't handle it, right? That's what keeps us awake. Thinking about tomorrow doesn't necessarily always do that. Oh yeah, John, man, that hits me right in the feels right there as 15 years in law enforcement. I don't know. I don't know if public safety suicide is on the rise, because the problem is, and you may well know, look at projects like Code 9 and folks like that try to track that stuff, right? Um, there's no clearinghouse for suicide, right? And so what numbers we know, which are horrible and heartbreaking anyway, are they right? Are they even scratching the surface? Is there deaths that happen that we don't even know are suicide? Um, Whether they're trying to do it for the dignity of the individual or it's just not reported somehow. Um, you know, I keep using those words like helpless and hopeless and not good enough, but that's where suicide comes from, is hopelessness, right? There's that's your major trigger right there, is hopelessness, no hope. I find if people have some kind of hope to hold on to, they may not be in a good place, but they may not be suicidal. I don't want to say that in a way to act as if we just give somebody a little hope everything will be okay. But yeah, I think I feel like there's a rise of suicide within law enforcement, but I also don't know how badly it was underreported before. So live streaming does not help get it done. I know. More community support. Yep. I could be AD. I could be AD Ha. It's been fun though. I can't believe you guys listened to me for an hour. All right, I should get some work done, and I'm clearly enjoying this too much to get any work done. So I don't know. Maybe I will save this. Maybe I'll save it, even if it's rough form, and see what people do with it. Or I'll just keep doing lives, not save them, and then people have to tune in. That's good questions. So, all right, an hour and 8 minutes. I should go do work, real work. So, all right, thanks everybody. It's been kind of cool. It was just a test. I thought it'd last like 10 minutes, and so I'll go be AD Ha somewhere else. So, thank you, Deborah. Thank you for the questions. Coal miner's daughter. Cool name, first of all. But yeah, when you look at places like Central Appalachia, which of course I'm right next to, um, there's so few resources. Financially, there's so few resources therapy wise. There's so few. There's so few abilities to reach out. I do a lot of telehealth out in Appalachia because they can't get here. And I'm glad to do that, but there's just one me, and I know other people are doing it, but there's not enough of us. So that, I think you look at any statistics, low income or worried about the future financially is a huge stressor. Yeah, John, I get that. I totally get that. I know. I hate paperwork. But I'm actually going to hit end and go do it because it's been an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you for entertaining me, though. It's been pretty cool. I'm going to do more of them. You 20 or so have convinced me. So thanks, everybody.